Hey everyone, and we are live with episode 19 of Office Hours, where I take a half an hour to discuss all things transition, networking, LinkedIn, relationships on this platform. Excited to be here today with my Office Hours partner in crime, Olivia. Hey, Olivia.
Hey, how's it
So
going?
it is going well. Olivia was asking why I was whistling when I came on, and I realized it is football related. For those of you that know me, I am a diehard Eagles fan. That is an Eagles jersey. You could probably see Randall Cunningham at the top. Uh, but the colors are somewhat close to the team that I hope is going to win tonight, the Green Bay Packers, right? I'm rooting all the way for Green Bay tonight. The Cheeseheads punching the Detroit Lions in the mouth make me happier than happy. So, if you get a chance, hop in. I'd love to hear who you think's going to win tonight. I'd love to hear you agree with me that the Eagles are going to make it to the Super Bowl. And if you want to just drop like a laughter face with the Cowboys, always acceptable. So, fair, Olivia?
Like sports ball. That's all I know.
Did you just
I'll
say
just I'll
sports?
just I'll just agree with you, Mike. Fly Eagles fly. I don't even know what that means, but I'm just going to agree with you.
I didn't say that today, so I'm so glad you picked up on it. Fly, Eagles, fly. All right, so we got a lot of topics to talk about today. It's been 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks ago I was in Phoenix doing some training with Navy Recruiting Command, their Navy Talent Acquisition Group, Phoenix. And then last week was Thanksgiving. So here we are today. And Mike, I'm guessing from Milwaukee, you got to be Pack fans. So that's great. We're going for the Pack today. But before we go, I want to talk about one of our sponsors for today's episode, DLA Finance, so Defense Logistics Agency. And here's what's exciting about that. They brought us onto their team to help them hire more veterans and military spouses. So DLA Finance, Defense Logistics Agency's finance section, has multiple roles around the country. They've got business analyst, financial liaison. They've got accountant and accountant systems roles in, let me see if I can get these right. They've got them in Philadelphia, New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Ohio, San Antonio, Fort Belvoir, and Richmond, right? So what's exciting about this, if you have any kind of a business or financial background, you're a veteran, a military spouse, or if you have an accounting background and an accounting degree, then what we want you to do is go to our page and apply to one of these roles, because what DLA Finance is doing is using direct hire authorities to bring you into GS roles working at their organization. Now, they are on site. I think they have a telework policy that differs by location. So you are at least on site several days a week. But I mean, come on, these are fantastic GS civilian roles at an organization that continues to support the warfighter. I can't think of much better out there. And if you are interested in SkillBridge, right? Thanks, Chad. If you are interested in SkillBridge, they will do SkillBridge opportunities at the same locations for all those roles. And so just reach out and apply on the Hire Military website. And also, you could reach out for SkillBridge to Amber Pitkin on our team, and she can give you some feedback or tips on how to get through to that. Remember, SkillBridge is for transitioning military in their last 180 days of service. All right. So let's get into some of the topics. So I want to talk resumes. I had doesn't happen often, but I had a unique opportunity to review a whole bunch of resumes for some roles this week. And I got to say, all veterans, transitioning service members, I was flabbergasted. I was blown away that the majority of them seem to have zero effort made to speak to the role. It was like somebody just had one resume and sent it to us. And so what I want to remind people is that resumes are supposed to be tailored or targeted to the role for which you are applying. if we have to look at it and decipher whether you have the skills or a big experience to fill this role, you go into the maybe I'll get to it pile, right? It should immediately be apparent that you have the experience to do the job. And so one of the couple things I like to say that will help you tailor a resume, I'm a big fan of a hybrid, right? Where you have a small paragraph at the top, like the summary, maybe a few keywords. Just don't go too crazy on just random keywords. Then you'll have your experience, and then you flip the page, you got your degrees or the rest of your experience and degrees, or second page, rest of, you get where I'm going with this. Now, if you are applying for a job that requires 5 years of experience doing X, Y, Z, and specific experience on these systems, and you have that, don't make us go looking for it. In that very first paragraph, just write that you have that, like clarify that you have or exceed the qualifications listed in the must-haves or some of the preferred requirements on the job description, right? So, HR manager with over 5 years of experience working in the manufacturing industry, experience with the following HRIS systems, employment, labor law, and unions. Like, check. So you got to say it up front there. And then what I'll add is that elsewhere in the experience, you got to reflect where you got that, right? Just tie that together, put a nice little bow on it. When we look at it, we should be able to figure it out. I've had some people submit resumes where they retired years ago from a whole career in supply and logistics, and it just was not highlighted on a resume for a job in a supply and logistics agency. So you've got to speak specific to the role. And then the other thing, I know Olivia just came on, she's going to add something in a minute. What I'll say is that I hear a lot of different advice from the resume experts, blah, blah, blah. All right. What I'll say is when you read a job description and you have your must-haves or your requirements, they are normally written in order of precedence, meaning the top ones are the most important. And then it gets less important as you go down. So what I'll say is take those top 5, whatever it is, and darn well make sure it's on your resume and it's reflected in that little paragraph at the top. If you have them, just don't fake it. And that will help you tailor your resume. What you got, Olivia?
Yeah, no, we got some great comments on this. One from Joshua who says, I just did this for some adjunct jobs and gosh, they are difficult. I would be that person you mentioned. Joshua, I'm assuming you mean targeting your resumes and it's difficult. I mean, it is a lot of work. I will agree. It takes some work. I mean, you're not just using the shotgun approach that Dale here talks about. He says, I tried that shotgun approach during the crash, was not successful. It's not. I mean, you can't just send out a master resume for every role you apply for. I mean, it's just not effective. I mean, right. Why, Mike? Why is that not effective?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at very first, you got a recruiter looking to say, are they a best candidate? Is it clear that they can do the job? Not can we train them to do the job? Not can we assume a lot of risk bringing on somebody who's a high performer, but's never done the job? Is it clear that they have the requirements for the job? And if it's for a government contract, it has to be clear that they've done that. Like those are must-haves, right? So you just got to make it clear. Now, it is work, but if you have done the career exploration necessary to narrow down the shot group of what you're looking for, like say you want to go into HR, but you're not sure what aspect of HR you want to work in or what industry you want to work in, or what you want to specialize in, then it's easier to just tailor and tweak HR resumes. Where you get into a problem is when you create a master resume and then you're applying for an operations job and a project manager job and an HR job and a training and development job, right? Then you're just completing completely new resumes for scratch for every single one of them. But there's a guy that comments on my stuff all the time, Chris Hogg, that sometimes he gets a little interesting in his comments, but he has a great thing he says. He says, you don't ready, fire, aim. You ready, aim, fire. And that's the exact what it is. Like, I will tell you, like, there were people, in a group of resumes I looked at that I know they had the experience to do it, but like, I don't have the time to rewrite your resume for you, and the clients, a lot of times are like, if they have to search for it, if they have to say maybe, then a lot of times you're going to just go with the ones that clearly articulated that they have the experience for the role. And so that's a big part of this. And, Olivia, it ties into the next part, which is this translation piece. I had my USO Ask Mike webinar from 11 to 1 today. And then next Thursday, I have my final Mastering LinkedIn webinar for the year on, I believe it's the 12th from 11 to 1. So if you haven't signed up, sign up for that. But at the end, the second hour of Ask Mike, we reviewed resumes. And there were a couple Air Force senior enlisted leaders that, one's an E8, one's an E9. They're both like incredible professionals. They're both highly educated. That they'd gotten the advice to civilianize their profiles and take all the military stuff out. And so here's the problem with that. So first of all, I can't say this enough. Decide whose advice you want to take. I do not recommend taking solidly just leaping and taking advice from people in the transition space unless they've been where you want to go, right? So don't just take my advice. I'm going to tell you to connect with 5 to 10 people in that industry and ask them for feedback to help you if they've been where you want to go, right? So these two senior enlisted leaders completely civilianized their profile to the point where I had no idea what they did. Like, I didn't know what level they were. I didn't know they were senior enlisted. They both look kind of young. Can I just say the Air Force doesn't age people like the Army does, it seems like. They both look very young, which is awesome. And but I couldn't tell if they were E6s, O6s, E8s, E9s. Like, I couldn't tell any of that. And then I couldn't tell what they actually did. And they were trying to translate their jobs for roles in HR. But I asked them, tell me what an HR director does. And they were like, leads the HR section. Okay, so tell me what the HR section does. And they were like, takes care of people. I'm like, no, that's not it. So go talk to 5 or 10 people in HR, ask them what they do, and then come back to me. Because two parts of this. One, you can't translate your resume for a specific career field. You can't tailor a resume for a specific career field unless you know exactly what people in that field do, right? You can't pick what you want to do unless you know exactly what people in that field do. So you got to do that career exploration first. But the second part of this is, if you over translate your profile or your resume, you remove the ability of veterans to say, oh, they're this. I know they have that in their background. Let me help out. You remove the ability of saying, oh, they're at that level. I know that they've done X, Y, Z. Let's get them over here. Or, hey, they're a chief master sergeant. I'm a retired E9. Like, we've got a lot in common. Let me reach out and see how I can help. Right. So much of it is about, one, waiting to tailor until you actually know the language you're tailoring it for. And two, not over, especially for transitioning, don't over sanitize it so that people in the space can't help. What do you got, Olivia?
No, that's great advice. We've got some more great comments here about the tailoring. And I think this all kind of, works together. It all kind of speaks to the same issue. LinkedIn user here, whoever you are, says tailoring is fine, but people need to know how to quickly tailor. You make some very good points, pal. Yeah, I mean, quickly tailor. That way you're not, taking up all of your precious time trying to tailor all these individual bespoke, resumes for every single little thing that you apply for, which brings us to this point that James says, that was good advice to put the ingredients in the top. Thank you. No, like that's that resume summary. That's that very first little spot there at the top that just spells out in black and white, this is why I'm qualified. See more. You
I
know,
mean, you can literally just write the stuff from the job description.
right.
With over 7 years of experience writing proposals and 5 years of experience in the defense industry working at EY and like you can literally just go check, check, check. And so when they read it, they're like, well, they made it nice and easy. And then you go down and look in the experience section, you see the specific roles. It's easy.
Yeah, agreed. And that would certainly help these recruiters out tremendously, just to find it right there at the top.
It would help
and then,
the candidates out tremendously.
Well, yes.
They'll get the interviews at least.
Right, exactly. And Christian says, use the right bait to catch the right fish. I mean, yeah, that's what this is all about. So those are some great comments. Let's move on, Mike. You had some other things you wanted to talk about today. So here's one. I think I remember you talking about this week, your board of advisors. Yeah. So why do you think having a personal board of advisors is so important? And then like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So let me start off by something that wasn't in my post this week, but I've talked to people before about promotions, especially in bigger companies. Like people are, you know, I've had people that are like, well, I didn't get promoted this year. Like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, did you tell them that you expect to be promoted? And did you make it clear that you wanted to be promoted? And did you ask what you had to do to be promoted so that you can do that? You know, and what I'll say is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you just show up and do your job, you will be fine. But you're probably not going to get promoted. The person that shows up and does their job and asks how to get promoted, will be the one to do it. Now, the next thing is that, you know, especially in larger companies, promotions are really decided when you're not in the room, right? So my next question is, who's advocating for you, right? Who's saying we should promote this person? Or when the name comes up, who's saying they're a rock star, you know? And so you've got to have these sponsors that are going to advocate for you. Now, here's the key. And this is what I mean by the board of advisors or board of directors, your personal board. You need to have probably about 5 people at the right level that have been where you want to go, that are going to invest time in you because they see your potential, become mentors, and are going to sponsor you, right? And this is why. A couple things. I truly believe that you need these people for the transition. You need their access to their networks. You need their insight into growth. And you need their introductions and their mentorship and sponsorship when you have some of those moments. And so, you know, a great example is, you know, like my buddy Jose Velasquez, retired public affairs sergeant major. He was with American Corporate Partners, and his mentor was an executive for Major League Baseball. So think about what she could share with him and think about the network that she could connect him to, right? It's the same thing across the board. One of my mentors, Mark Anderson, you know, I didn't intentionally go to like say, hey, would you be my mentor? Would you be on my board? But I had just started at Ernst & Young, EY, and I had previously volunteered to speak on a panel at a Nestle veteran event. And so I showed up at this Nestle event. I'm up on the stage, and they introduced us all, and it was Michael Quinn from Higher Military. I'm like, well, actually, no, I'm a senior manager at EY, and I'd like to thank the firm for allowing me to continue to participate today. I didn't know that one of the most senior partners in the firm was in the crowd sitting next to the Nestle CEO. I just went on and did my pitch. We had a few minutes left, and I don't know if you all remember the Find Nearby feature they had on LinkedIn, which used Bluetooth to find everyone within 100 feet with you. And so what I did was I said, hey, we've got a few minutes. Everybody stand up. And I want you to pull out your phone on LinkedIn. And I showed them how to do Find Nearby and connect with all the other people that were there to support veterans. And it went over great. I walk out, and this, nice guy walks up to me with a very nice hairstyle and says, "Hey, like, who are you? What do you do at EY?" And I told him this is my first week. I just finished onboarding. I'm at People Advisory on the Army account. And he worked, he's one of the senior partners. He's like, "Hey, let's do lunch." And I will tell you that a large part of my success at EY, post EY, everything else was from his friendship, mentorship, and guidance. Like, I had questions about the firm. He called to check in on. He made sure that I understood the metrics I should be tracked, that how to navigate some of the things that go on at the firm. He made sure that the other partners gave me enough hours so that I wasn't stressed over utilization rate, like little things. But that is what a member of your board of advisors, board of directors, your own personal board is like. And there's several others. And here's the other part of it. I believe the people on your board are a strong indicator of how successful you will be, right? So if you have a bunch of board members that are very, very, very ultra successful, chances are you will reach close to those levels, right? Because you have access to their networks, their experience, their insight, some resources, whatever. If your mentors are, your member of your board are 5 local people at nonprofits. Like, if you want to go into the nonprofit space, great. Might not be the same impact as having a senior executive from industry. And so I will just tell you, now you don't shoot for the stars all the time. It's got to be within reach. But a lot of times, just by organically reaching out, having conversations, putting in the work, you will find the people that will become your board. And I know Olivia's ready to go, but when I was getting out, people that come to mind, Dan Savage was definitely one of my board members. He was the head of veterans program for LinkedIn. Friend, mentor, just an amazing human being. He did so much for me. Karen Schrum, another partner at EY. She's the reason that I ended up joining the firm. With Joe Quinn, another partner at EY. Funny how that is. Matt Widmer, partner at Deloitte. He was another one that invested in me. I had Jonathan Puskas, who ran HR for Adidas North America, Navy captain, fantastic mentor, picked up the phone, I could call and ask him questions. Darlene, CEO of a small business. Like, these were the people that I could pick up and call, and they would invest in me. And then as I continued to grow, Mark came in after I got to know him, there's so many. Nick, our current CEO, he became one. At first I helped him in his transition, and then it flipped. So, but the key is just continue to invest in these relationships. And really, I would tell you to think about who's in your board. And if you look at who those people are, you'll be identify how far you'll go in the near future. What do you got, Olivia?
So let's say you don't really know where to start. You know you need a board, but you don't know where to start. You mentioned a great place
American
to start.
Corporate Partners. So
American Corporate Partners.
acp-usa.org, or just Google American Corporate Partners. They are a nonprofit out of New York City that will pair you with a mentor from a Fortune 500 company at the right level that meets with your requirements. So somebody I recently talked to got the Chief Human Resources Officer for Johnson & Johnson. Now think about that, right? The other thing is I don't believe you intentionally go out and search for a board. I believe you network and you turn people from mentors into sponsors. And that's a piece most people don't realize. So a mentor is someone that advises, right? Provides advice. A sponsor is someone that advocates for you, right? That speaks for you when you're not in the room, that takes it to the next level. And so what I have to remind people is that, the way that you turn a person into a mentor and then a mentor into a sponsor. So first you connect, small asks, conversation, you get to a conversation, and then you pay attention, you come prepared, you pay attention. If they tell you to do something or recommend you do something, you write it down, and then you do it. And you go back to them and say, hey, thank you for the recommendation to do XYZ. I did it. These are the results. They'll usually respond, but right then and there, you said the thank you, which you'll send right afterwards as well. Say thank you, thank you, thank you. You do the advice. They show you're willing to put in the work. You are coachable, right? And that's when you start to turn a mentor into a sponsor, right? That once they know that they can give you advice, you put in the work, that there's somebody they can introduce to people in their network, that's when you get that set up. So the key is just to really, just focus right at first about, I usually say my 10-5-3 rule, 10 connection requests a day, 5 comments a day, 3 posts a week. If you do that, and people will accept a connection request, you say, thank you for accepting. I'm getting out. Do you have a few minutes to give me some advice? A percentage of them will say yes. And every one of those phone calls has the potential to turn into a life-altering conversation.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's all about nurturing those relationships. Couple of comments here. One from Chad. I'll just read the top part. He says he recently going through the TAP classes. I can say that they don't give examples nor give you help to fix your resume. So back to the resume and the targeting. I mean, there's a reason why we're constantly preaching this message. It's because we don't know what we don't know. We just don't.
Let me just dial that back in for a second. Can you put that comment back up?
Sure. Yep.
So let's explain something, Chad. TAP classes are not there to fix your resume. TAP classes are there to give you the baseline information on what a resume is. At any point in time, you can go back into the transition center and say, I need resume help. And they will either connect you with a counselor, which I know for a fact they have transition specialists in every Army installation. They will connect you with a transition specialist. They will connect you with, if you're in the right place, EMPP, Employer National Pilot, the DOL session, or they'll connect you with nonprofits that will work with you. Or you can reach out to the USO Transitions. They'll give you a transition specialist that'll help you. But there's this misnomer that you go to TAP, and TAP teaches you how to do everything. They give you basic information. That's it. Basic information. You have to ask for more. That's the challenge. Go back into the transition center and say, I need more help. They have specific resume classes. They have federal resume classes. They have other career tracks. And your transition center will have local nonprofits they've vetted that can support you.
And we know of a great organization specifically to help with resumes, and that would be?
I love the prompts. You're getting good at this. Hire Heroes USA. Did I get that right?
Hire Heroes USA.
She's putting me on the spot.
HHUSA. No. We want to make sure people can Google this. So it's HHUSA. That's Hire Heroes USA. So please Google that. It's totally free. They'll help you whether you're a veteran, transitioning service member, or a military spouse. They'll write your resume for free. It'll really kind of teach you how it works. Kind of gives you a starting place. And then that way you can use that sort of master resume as sort of your launch pad for your targeted resume. So super helpful. I would highly recommend just get them to do one for you just so that you kind of learn how it works. And then I think Chad wraps all of this up in a nice little bow. He says, he's responding to Chad there. He says, this is exactly what Mike is talking about. Having a board or people in your corner, keeping your head in the game. Exactly right. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. Right. And that's really why we need those mentors in our corner. But as we wrap up the 30 minutes, Mike, do you have anything else to sort of close us out?
I want to get to this other topic real quick.
I'll get it done.
Go for it. I just want to talk about contingent offers, right? There's been several times where I've gone to events in the DC area and I've run into junior enlisted service members that signed contingent offers for some of these agencies that require polygraphs, moved here and had been waiting 4, 5, 6 months and didn't have a job yet. They were living off their savings, right? And I've had other senior leaders that have signed contingent offers, provided resumes and everything for contracts, and thought they were good, but they didn't realize that they were not the incumbent on the contract. So maybe at best there's a 25 to 30% chance that company's going to get the contract. And so when it didn't go through, they didn't have a job and they stopped looking because they signed a contingent offer. And so I want to tell everybody this: Contingent offers, treat them like lottery tickets. You bought a lottery ticket, right? You selected all your numbers. You bought a lottery ticket. The lottery is not going to be till next week. You don't look at that lottery ticket all day, right? Like you put it on the side. And if it hits, woo, we won. If it doesn't hit, you buy another one if you want, right? Contingent offers, treat them like you're negotiating a regular job. It's a great way to get practice. Once you've signed the contingent offer, put it away over in the side and keep looking for a job until you find a job and start. Never stop looking. I don't care if someone so-and-so says, I got you when I get out. I've had several very senior E9s stop looking because some very senior leader said, I've got you, I've got you, I've got you. And then guess what happened? They didn't get you. I've had other people say, I've got you. And then they get promoted to another company and they don't have access to the roles anymore. So they didn't get them, right? These are all this contingency things. Never stop looking. Never focus on one role. Always have multiple irons on the fire until you have a signed, written job offer with a salary and a start date and start. Like that's when you can stop. And even then, always take the call.
So those contingent offers, Mike, is that where are we most likely to see that? Is that sort of like a GovCon thing? Is that like corporation?
Yeah.
I mean, who does that? Where are we most likely to see that?
It's usually a defense and government contracting, but if like there's also ones that require background checks. You know, it might be contingent upon a background check or whatever. You just don't know how long it's going to be, but most of it's in the government contracting defense world. So that's where they'll come out. But look, basically any job offer that says you will start if this takes place is a contingent offer, right? So wait until it's all done. You can be excited for a minute, put it to the side and keep working. Got
it. Okay, good to know. Well, thank you, Mike. That wraps up our 30 minutes and then some. Any closing words before I
will say thank you, Olivia. This was fantastic feedback, and I love having you on the show. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.